Welcome back, comrades. It is Maximus. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me on this video. We are going back to air cargo aircraft. Ever since doing my little visit to the Lethbridge International Air Show, I think it was last year, yep, which I did a video on, so go check that out. In seeing the C-17s, I was always curious as to what would be kind of the equivalent to the C-17 and the C-5 Galaxy in the Russian world. And of course, Russia never do things by halves and make things small. Compared to the C-5 Galaxy and the C-17, we really do have a big contender. Most of you probably know exactly what aircraft this is. It is the IL-76 series of military transport aircraft, and what a beast it is. Now, of course, cargo aircraft are inherently quite large. Of course, you're going to expect them to be big and be able to carry a lot of weight, etc., etc. But it's interesting to me how much an older platform can be brought back into the world of top contending cargo aircraft. So she was pretty much designed as a medium-range military transport aircraft, also known by the NATO code name as Candid. Missions of the aircraft are to drop paratroopers, carry troop forces and combat material with crews and armaments, including medium-sized battle tanks, airlifting cargo for troop forces, and transport of disaster relief operations. The IL-76 medium-range transport aircraft was produced by the Ilyushin Aviation Complex Joint Stock Company in Moscow, along with the Kashnek Aircraft Production Corporation in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. More than 500 of these aircraft have been produced since the service entry in 1974, so it is old, but surprisingly, of course, with any old piece of equipment in Russia, they like to keep it going for as long as they can and upgrade it as they go. There are several design variations, including the basic IL-76, the IL-76M, the IL-76MD, and the IL-76MF. In terms of design, aerodynamic configuration, and flight performance characteristics, the IL-76M version virtually resembles the IL-76 basic aircraft, and has a maximum payload of 47 tons compared to the 28 tons for the IL-76. In August 2007, the Russian Air Force revealed the IL-76 MD-90, which is the new permanent PS-90A-76 engines placed on it, and upgraded Leniyets-Kopel 76M avionics. And this aircraft you're seeing right now is the older version of the aircraft with the guns in place on the back, which are absolutely amazing for the record. I mean, just incredible pieces of firepower to be placed on the back of a weapons platform like this. You know, it reminds me of the B-17 bombers for sure. Now, of course, guns aren't the primary mission of this aircraft. It is cargo and transport, and the equipment comprises of a telfer, or an overhead cargo system, where the cargo can be suspended from an electrically operated powered rail, a roller conveyor, a mooring, rigging, and auxiliary parachute system, along with ambulance equipment within the aircraft, so it's basically a floating hospital as well. The aircraft, did I just say floating? I meant to say flying. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired today. The aircraft is equipped with a defensive aid suite as well, comprising of radar warning jammers, infrared flare cartridges, chaff dispensers, and of course the two beautiful guns with a fire control radar to help assist engaged targets. Big time surplus of troops can be placed inside of this aircraft, guys. As you can see here, it can drop a number of soldiers. Depending on the type of mission that they're being placed on, the type of equipment that they're carrying, they can carry up to 60 soldiers fully equipped, which is pretty darn impressive. Now, of course, depending on the role that they're being placed in, there's going to be a variation to that, and I'm sure they could probably squeeze more in there if they wanted to, or maybe less. But of course, it really does depend on the kind of mission that they've been tasked to do and whether or not they're going to take equipment with them. There are different variants of the Russian-built IL-76, but the one I want to primarily focus on is the newer aircraft that has been recently brought into service, which is the Ilyushin IL-76 MD-90 Alpha. It's a new military transport aircraft, codenamed IL-476, developed by Ilyushin Aviation Complex, a subsidiary of United Aircraft Corporation, UAC. It is a modernized version of the IL-76 MD, which itself is based, as previously mentioned, as just the standard IL-76 cargo aircraft platform. The first factory test flight of this aircraft was concluded in January 2013. The aircraft successfully completed its maiden flight in March 2013 near Moscow, ironically. It flew at altitudes of 2,000 meters up to 10,000 meters for a period of 1 hour and 55 minutes during test flight. Just like its predecessors, it's pretty much designed to carry all types of cargo, including paratroopers, vehicles, cargo, and military equipment. The Russian Ministry of Defense signed a $4 billion contract with UAC for the delivery of 39 of these beautiful behemoth aircraft in October 2012. The deliveries were scheduled to commence in 2014, however, there were delays in the backlog of producing some of these aircraft. The IL-76 MD-90 Alpha is based on the same airframe and fuselage of the IL-76 aircraft. The cargo aircraft integrates advanced features such as a redesigned wing section, new cockpit with modern avionics and more powerful engines. The aircraft has a length of 46.6 meters and a height of 14.76 meters, with a wingspan of a whopping 50.5 meters and a wing area, trapezoidal, of 300 meters squared. The landing gear track, or the outer wheels and fuselage midsection diameter of the aircraft, are 8.16 meters and 4.8 meters respectively, which gives it a huge surface area to land on when it's landing all that freaking weight. The IL-76 MD-90 Alpha has a maximum takeoff weight of 210 tons and can carry a maximum payload of 52 tons on board. It can accommodate up to 5 crew members, with 2 probably sleeping because of the long distance flights that they do, while the rest are actually manning the equipment. The aircraft has some advanced avionics, with a glass cockpit installed with 3 intelligent control panels and a KSEIS KN-76 aircraft status master monitor display system with 8 multifunctional liquid crystal displays instead of the older technology, which was basically quite primitive for aircraft of its kind. The glass cabin provides better view to the cabin crew and looking around below the aircraft in case of potential threats, but most of all to see good landing zones for the troops they're trying to drop off. The IL-76 MD-90 Alpha also integrates a digital ACS-76 auto flight control system and the new Copol 3 76M flight site navigation system with display indication, which basically is a heads-up display. The cargo cabin of this aircraft is designed with a length of 24.5 meters with a ramp and a width of 3.45 meters with a height of 3.4 meters. The cargo cabin offers an interior volume of 321 meters cubed. That is a lot of space, folks, to put equipment on for an aircraft of this size. It is capable of carrying 126 parachutists, or 145 troops in a single-deck arrangement, and 225 troops in a double-deck arrangement. It can also be installed with special equipment to carry 114 injured persons and basically turn into a flying, got it right this time, hospital. The aircraft is installed with an aerial delivery system, or ADS, for dropping of cargo, transportation of armed forces cargo containers, pallets and troop parachutes, basically allowing it to drop some seriously heavy loads without them being smashed to pieces on the ground. The ADS installed on board this aircraft facilitates dropping of parachutists from an altitude of 8,000 meters at 220 kilometers an hour to 400 kilometers an hour speeds. I can tell you this much, me jumping out of this aircraft at 8,000 meters at 400 kilometers an hour, yeah, it's going to be a rough day. It also enables equipment dropping with the help of parachutes at altitudes of 300 to 4,000 meters at 260 kilometers to 400 kilometers an hour speeds also. The cargo dropping system aboard the aircraft ensures the dropping of platforms laden with shipments and equipment safely. The underladder devices, rollerways and winches in the cabin allowed for the loading of cargoes and equipment onto the aircraft extremely easily. Of course, this isn't nothing new. We see this on all pretty much major cargo aircraft around the world, including the C-5 Galaxy and the C-17. But it's something that I think, we kind of sidetrack a little bit, because the simple things like ball bearings on the floor that allow equipment to be rolled on very quickly, when we first started producing cargo aircraft, it wasn't really something that we focused on. The little, the itty-bitty things that can actually make, an air crew's life a lot easier. The aircraft can cruise at a speed of 820 kilometers an hour, and it can fly at a maximum altitude of 12,000 meters. The maximum range of this aircraft is a whopping 8,500 kilometers, and the aircraft requires a 1,700 meter takeoff distance on a concrete runway. It is installed with 4 4th generation PS90 Alpha 76 turbofan engines with a 4x4 bypass ratio. Each engine develops a maximum continuous thrust of a whopping 14,500 kilograms of thrust. This consumes 12% less of fuel and offers an increased flight range of 18%, which overall is pretty darn impressive. The engines on board this aircraft are also compliant with the latest ICAO requirements for noise and emission levels, which, surprisingly, took me off guard a little bit, because I never really thought the Russians would give a crap about noise and emission levels, but good for them. It does have an auxiliary power unit known as the TA-12 Alpha, which is installed on board the aircraft to allow it to do ground running and not have too much worry about having to fire out the main engines, just to get some power to the crew that are on board. There are some other aircraft that the Russians are obviously working very hard at trying to bring into power. The AN-124 Ruslan, NATO reporting name as Condor, designed by the Antonov ASTC based in Kiev, Ukraine, is a very large transport cargo aircraft also. The IL-78 Midas air-to-air refueling transport aircraft is also part of the Russian Federation and is designed as a 4-engine tanker principally used in an in-flight refueling method. It was designed and developed on the basis of the similar predecessor of the IL-76 and has the NATO reporting name as the Midas. Now, this is interesting to me, this aircraft, because I love the fact that they've followed through with an old, tried and tested platform and really pushed its boundaries with putting the bigger engines on there, bigger capacity, and better fuel efficiency, which again is key when you're talking about strategic capability, because at the end of the day, this is exactly what these aircraft are designed for. A strategic capability to be able to deploy troops and supplies long distance without having to worry about having to refuel, and get them there very quickly, because this aircraft is punching out a lot of thrust. You've also got to look at the distances on which this aircraft can land, take off. Very, very impressive stuff, and the capability of being able to drop off large amounts of equipment very quickly is going to be a game changer when it comes to, and hopefully never does come to, conflict with the Russian Federation. Now, of course, the C-17 and the C-5 have its own, upgrade packages being placed on them, and they have their own long-range strategic capabilities. But it's fascinating to me that Russia is still pushing hard with this IL-76 program. Honestly, I'd love to see these things covered with more guns, just because it's Russian. Yeah, let's stick some more 30mm cannons all over the damn thing and just make it look like a beast. But they've stepped away from that now, and honestly, I've looked at some of the footage and some of the designs and research that have gone into this aircraft, and it looks like Russia is stepping away from the, build as quickly as we possibly can in as short as possible time as we can, with as much focus on output than it is quality. I'm not saying Russian equipment doesn't have a high degree of quality. What I'm saying is Russia is starting to realize that if we're going to make products that will potentially be a legacy platform for many, many years to come, that will be exported to many countries, because that is one thing Russia is very good at when it comes to military equipment, is exportation. Let's do it right and let's perfect it. And I really do think, in looking at just some of the footage and the way Russia produces equipment nowadays, they've gone really to town when it comes to quality control. Now, I work in the aviation industry, I know a lot about the aviation world, and just seeing some of the information about this aircraft, how they've designed it, the way in which they've put it together, the way they're improving things, their quality control, their engineering principles, I'm pretty impressed, honestly. The IL-76, being that it is a trusted platform and they've used it for many years, they're starting off with a really good recipe. Now they're improving it and perfecting it to make probably one of the most capable strategic cargo military aircraft in the world, and honestly, hats off to them for doing so. You got to take a little step back from my channel in terms of the military world a little bit here too, folks, because there's a lot of horrible things that are going on in the world that are not conflict or military related when it comes to natural disasters, relief efforts, all that sort of stuff, humanitarian aid. These aircraft, in terms of strategic capability for that, are a huge game changer, and we know that these aircraft are doing missions all around the world. I myself in Afghanistan saw the Antonovs landing all the time, providing me with support, but not just me, guys, the Afghan people. Even in Iraq and other countries, they're really saving lives. They are. It's not all about, dropping off paratroops, tanks and troops to the ground. It's about providing humanitarian support to those who may need it. And aircraft like this really do provide that huge capability in doing so. So just something to think about in the background. Overall, folks, I'm really impressed with this aircraft. I would like to see, more in terms of, what can this aircraft do in the next 20, 30 years' time? Is it something that they're going to continually upgrade even from this platform with the newer program they've started? Or will they eventually say, you know what, let's just design an entirely new aircraft? Hard to say. I can see the amount of money that they've pumped into this, almost $4 billion. We're not going to see this thing go for a very, very long time, just like the beautiful IL-76 of the days gone in 1976. But guys, I would love to hear your opinion on this aircraft. What do you think about it? Do you think that it's up to par with the C-17 and C-5 Galaxy and other major aircraft out there? Do you think that it could still do with improvement, or do you think they should just scrap the entire process and design something completely new? Obviously that's not going to happen, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. If you enjoyed today's video, folks, please leave me a like and a comment. I'd really appreciate that. If you want to support my channel, go check out my Patreon account. I'd really appreciate that also. Being that my channel is military related, for the most part I tend to get little support from YouTube. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I also have my Discord channel, so if you folks want to come have a chat with me, then feel free to play some video games or just sort of chat the shit, I guess. And apart from that, folks, have a wonderful day. Thanks again for joining me, and bye-bye.